Good Saturday morning, and welcome to another exciting edition of Outdoors with Larry Ray on 790 The Bet. Brought to you proudly by the Tennessee Wildlife Resources Agency, B&M Poles, and Ducks Unlimited. Now, here's your host, Larry Ray.
Hey, good Saturday morning. Welcome to Outdoors with Larry Ray on this. What day is this, gang?
First Saturday in March.
March 1. There you go. Yeah. Guy Trebo shaking his head over. I heard it. And then, of course, we have first Saturday. Think on that. He's trying. Think on that over there. This is first Saturday.
Yes, it is. It's the old-time radio show.
That's it, with a man who was in there when we started.
Yep.
Mr.
Hadn't let him go home
Joseph Eugene Smith, right?
The first.
The first. That's right. And we have Dave Gabbard in with us for first Saturday on this March 1st.
Good morning.
What happened to February? Came in with a bang.
I don't know. It to me, February kind of went by quick. Usually February, like one guy said, is like sitting down to a dinner of boiled liver.
Oh, man. All you folks out there in Brownsville and Jackson this early morning, I know you're not thinking about liver, but, of course, we are here in Memphis. But we do have a special guest. Guy Trebo's over there, our webmaster, the man himself, LarryRay.com. And then we've called in on this special. He's usually here on third Saturdays, but he couldn't come the last time. And we had all sorts of things going on. But he's here today, and that's Frank Barton. Good morning, Frank.
Good morning, Larry. Good morning, everyone.
And Frank actually got to spend the day at the National Bird Dog Championships.
I spent day one.
Day one. And there was a lot of action on day one.
I think.
We don't know. We're not going to talk about it.
I'll just go ahead and say, I think I saw the winner.
You think he saw the winner? Well, we're going to hopefully have that on today's show. If we don't, it'll be on next week's show just because of time lapses and everything. But he was out there with our good friend Ken Blackman and Terry Turlip. You got to ride with some big shots there.
I had a great day.
You did.
I tell you, if you're going to go out there with your first time,
yeah,
it sure does help to go out there with two people that are pretty knowledgeable.
They are, aren't they?
Oh, yeah.
Of course, I went out there in the back of a Jeep for many years, and Gus was driving the Jeep, and it was open-air Jeep. And then we went out there in the back of the truck. Of course, I don't ride horses, and I went out there, and I'm well known out there at Ames because I'm the only guy that brought along his thermos and was found out about once I started getting cold, I started to open it up, and it was just hot water. I had forgot to put the coffee in. So they remember me from that, old Larry Ray. And, of course, we do have Dave Gabbard on the line from Lexington, Tennessee. Good morning, Dave.
Good morning. Good morning.
And I know that these are we're getting ready to have, we're going to have some bad weather. It's going to get spring. It's going to get storms and things like that. But I'm hoping that we could get back to normal in some temperatures. But I do remember, I think it was 1968. Some of y'all weren't around, but Gene was. We had 18 inches of snow in Memphis in March.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I was out the other day in all the big box stores and getting all their gardening stuff out.
Yeah.
And I'm going, people haven't learned that, we're going to get some snow or a couple of good killing frost. It's Easter before you put your plants out.
Well, my wife has learned that being the gardener that she is, and of course, but it's been tough on us that have allergies and things along that line. But I'm really interested. We're going to talk let me give you a quick synopsis of what today's show is. Then I want to brief you on some current events going on. We're going to talk to Dr. Stan Wint. He is the president of the National Field Trial Championship Association. And Dr. Stan will be with us on the first segment after this one. We'll talk bird dogs with Dr. Stan. Then we're going to switch gears and head to Pickwick, and we're going to reminisce on Outdoors with Larry Ray about the late Botel. And a lot of us remember our days at Pickwick staying with Betty and Bill and Betty Bellis at the Botel, which was an old Corps of Engineers barge, I think. But anyway, we're going to talk to Johnny Bellis, Bill and Betty's son. I got to see Johnny and his son Caden at the boat show. So we're going to talk a little bit about what's going on there. Then we're going to wrap up this deer season because I know we've got over 165,000 deer killed in Tennessee this past season. Jeremy Dennison, the TWRA CWD coordinator. We're going to talk to Jeremy. And then we had a young wildlife officer in Arkansas for the Arkansas Game and Fish Commission. Not only did he get to attend the National Wild Turkey Federation, which I understand there were thousands there on Valentine's weekend, but young game warden Brady Smith earned the National Wild Turkey Federation National Wildlife Officer of the Year. And you know how many years he's been a wildlife officer? Two. That's right, Frank. 2. And he's won this big award, and he's out of Claiborne County, Arkansas. So we're going to talk
He knows where all the bodies are buried.
He knows where the bodies are buried and some that he don't want to know. But anyway, so we're going to talk to Brady, and we'll close out the show. We're going to head to Reelfoot Lake and see about these water conditions that we've been talking about, all the floodwaters in Rives, Tennessee, and all that area up there in Dyersburg. We're going to talk to our good friend Billy Blakley. He's the chief guide at Blue Bank Resort. We'll talk to him. And then we want to announce, folks, we lost a gentleman who he loved the outdoors. He loved the fishing rodeos. Gene Smith, you know that.
Yes, sir. He used a crappie magnet all the time.
He used the crappie magnet, Leland Smith, and all the folks over in Searcy. That was Rodney Ward. Of course, I've known Rodney. I've known his mother, Ann Ward, forever. And Rodney passed away recently, and the funeral will be Tuesday. Visitation Tuesday at 10 a.m. and the funeral at 11 a.m. at Cherry Road Baptist Church, 1421 Cherry Road. And I know a lot of people, TWRA, all those people that associated, because he was big with the Raptors. He would take food for the Eagles and the rehab center and those kind of things. But he didn't miss a fishing rodeo, Dave. I know that you know that. He was out there helping kids fish, doing whatever it took. And so that funeral is coming up on Tuesday. And then tonight, one of the big wild game dinners of the year is tonight at Piperton Baptist Church. One of my favorite places. Doors open at 5. Program starts at 6. I've been able to secure some really great prizes thanks to my friends at Mojo Outdoors. Big box from Terry Denham came in. B&M poles. BB gun from Daisy. Going to have those out. We're going to lots of prizes. Great food out tonight at Piperton Baptist Church. And that, again, me and my wife, Miriam, will be out there and looking forward to it. But let's talk a little bit, Frank, before we get Dr. Stan Wint in here, about the experience. You got to do it. I'm so glad you got to do it because you rode the roads. You were in Ken Blackman's, I guess, vehicle, right?
That's correct.
And so Ken knows all the stops.
He does. He's driven the course plenty of times in the buggy, driving the buggy.
Yes, and
during the
55 dogs.
55 dogs.
And you were there opening day.
I was there for the first brace.
And I'm looking here. That first brace was your favorite here. I'm looking up Aaron's Perfect Storm, owned by Brad Woody, and Luke Eisenhart was the handler. 7 fines, one of 10 dogs to go the 3 hours. Now, I'm saying these are the most athletic dogs that might be in competition. Now, I know you're into retrievers and things. Let's talk about 3 hours.
Right. When we do retrievers, we're doing it's kind of like sprints,
which you're probably doing today, this Saturday.
You bet.
Yeah. Okay.
Been doing it all week.
Yeah. Yeah.
But a long setup or a long series or set of marks or whatever we would do, might be 15 minutes. That'd be a long time. The average is about 8.
So these dogs are going 3 hours.
They're going 3 hours, and what got my attention in the first brace that I saw, because I saw we would catch the dogs as they would cross the road, going from one field to the next out there at Ames, and I think the last time they crossed the road was at the 2-hour, 45-minute mark, give or take.
And it's still going.
They only had about 15 minutes left.
It's still going, right? He's
not only going, but going hard. They were going as hard. What I saw at the end of the brace, those dogs were running as hard as they did when they started the brace. And that's what got my attention.
And that's what the rules, and they announced the champion last Thursday afternoon on the steps of Mames Manor at Ames Plantation. But they go by style, stamina, and the ability to locate coveys of quail. And you think about it, the only time they stop is when they either picked up or
you're finished.
Or their own birds.
Or their own birds, yeah. They're stopped then.
They're stopped, dead stop right then. And the judges come just galloping up, the handler. And so you might have an unproductive, you might have a rabbit. I think they found a squirrel this year, one of the dogs, So there's things like that might happen. But we're talking about the record-breaking 55 dogs. And we're in our third week, this past week, which cuts into everything, the record-breaking dogs. They ran on Sunday for the first time. And I don't know if Mr. Ames would turn over the grave or not, but they ran on Sunday because they were behind.
They were behind
last week's weather, because when it's 7 degrees, and then on Saturday it's 77 degrees. So,
I learned an interesting thing about that weather business.
What?
When we had the bad weather,
yeah,
it was a little bit about the dogs and the difficulty and being fairness, and it was a whole lot about the horses.
About the horses, yeah.
Because it is so dangerous for the horses to go across the roads, having to cross those blacktop roads when they're iced over. And they even go slow, but they're still pretty dangerous. So that's they did it as much for the horses as they did for anything else.
And we're talking about horseback spectators. Because if you're not riding the road with Ken Blackman and Frank Barton,
I was really glad I was riding.
Yeah, they're not riding on a horse, because I've never done that, because I always tell them that Henry Reynolds always rode a horse and he always walked funny. I'd go put me on the horse. But all right, we're going to take our first break and we're going to continue this little conversation. We're going to get a pun from Gene here in just a minute, but we're going to come right back on Outdoors of Larry Ray.
Welcome back to Outdoors with Larry Ray, brought to you by the Tennessee Wildlife Resources Agency, B&M Poles, and Ducks Unlimited.
Hey, welcome back to Outdoors with Larry Ray as we roll into our 25th year on the air. And we were talking earlier on this Saturday morning. Of course, we're in Memphis from 9 to 10:30. We're in Brownsville from 6 to 7:30. And we're in Jackson on News Talk 101.5 from 6:30 to 8. My good friend Frank Barton has dropped in. He's usually here on the third Saturday, but I wanted to bring Frank in because he experienced something that I've long cherished, and that's spending a day at Ames Plantation. And Frank,
opening day,
first race. You want to go ahead and tell him before I introduce this next guest? You got to see the winner.
You go ahead. No, let's go ahead. Let's do the guests.
Okay.
Do the guests. That'd be
all right,
cool.
We're going to tease you, but we got a special guest with us on Outdoors with Larry Ray. I've been covering that event out there. This is the 126th. My first field trial was 1988 when I was thrown into the breach, so to speak. And I love this event, 126 years. And I asked Matt Backus if he could come up with somebody that could kind of give us a handle on the event itself. And he's come up with somebody I know, this gentleman, how much he cherishes that event too, and that's Dr. Stan Wint. He is the president of the National Field Trial Championship Association, National Bird Hunters Association. And Stan, we appreciate you taking time on this Saturday to be with us. And first of all, congratulations on your career, buddy. I mean,
thank you, sir.
You've left your mark, so to speak.
I've gone to a few field trials.
You have. I've looked that up, man. You're in the Hall of Fame for National Bird Hunter Association, president of that out of Gardner, Kansas. And I know you had to leave a little bit early, but talk about, Stan, from your perspective. You've handled the dogs. You know all the procedures and everything. This was a unique event this year with 55 dogs. Talk about that, Stan.
Well, this is the largest event that's been held in a number of years. It may be the largest event ever.
It is. It's a large. I'll tell you that. We've all researched.
And what we were looking at, and that is this is over the last 5 years, our numbers had kind of gone down.
Yes, 29 last year. Yeah, 29.
The bird population was low, and so our goals this year were to establish a good population of birds so that the dogs could be judged in a fair way, and to try and increase the number of participants.
Yeah,
we changed our qualifications very slightly, and we actually had over 80 dogs qualified.
Over 80, really?
Okay. Yeah, 56 of them
one scratched.
Paid their entry fees, and one scratched, and so we started with 55. During the course of the 3 weeks, because we did have some, we had some rain, we had some snow,
and
we had some
weather.
delays. We had some real cold weather.
Yes.
And, when we looked at that, we had a wonderful panel of judges.
Yes, we did. Yeah.
And very experienced dog men. And it was a joy to work with them. I'd actually judged the National 6 times.
I know you have.
But I'll tell you, these guys were great. They really were cognizant of what it takes to win, and they wanted very badly to make sure that every dog had an equal chance. And so, if it was pouring down rain, or it was snowy, or it was real cold, we delayed running, and it took us a little bit longer. But in the end, we got a great champion.
Yeah, and we're gonna announce that champion. He just led up to that. So go ahead, Frank. I mean, you were there for this dog's efforts. Yeah.
The champion for the 2025 event was Aaron's Perfect Storm. Ran in the first brace.
And 7 fines. Of course, one of 10 dogs to do the 3 hours. And Stan, we'll talk about that because first dog out of the brace. 55 dogs later.
Well, that's actually quite a feat because, very seldom does the first dog in the first brace stand up for 3 weeks. But he did. He had a wonderful performance. The dog was he looked great on point.
Yeah.
He was always to the front. He did the things he was supposed to do, and he found a lot of birds. He
did find a lot of birds, and as I told everybody, I was brought up on the standards from Ames: style, stamina, and the ability to locate coveys of quail. That was brainwashed in me.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Right out of the bat.
The Miesian standard has been around for a long, long time.
Yeah.
It actually wasn't written by Hobart Ames. It was written by a gentleman by the name of Venables.
I did not know that, yeah.
And it was done for an article in the American Field many, many years ago.
Wow.
So one of the things.
Yeah, go ahead. No, go ahead. Yeah.
I said one of the things that you'll find about this dog was in there. It talks about an exceptional piece of bird work, mindful of the handler, always to the front.
Yeah.
He just checked all the boxes.
And to come out of the chute like that, he left a target that he had to wait for that I know was probably pretty hard on Luke Eisen. I mean, who's that? Yeah, Luke.
Yeah,
Luke Eisenhart.
Luke was his handler, but Luke's been through this before.
He has, yes.
He won 7 years ago with Dunn's Tried and True.
Yes, he did. Yeah.
And I happened to be the judge at that point in time, and that was a fabulous performance. And it wasn't the first brace, but it happened pretty early in the stake.
Yes.
And the good ones just tend to stand out.
And I'm sure Brad Woody is a happy man too. I mean,
absolutely. Yeah.
Winning that first championship for him, and Luke is there. But the weight this year, we ran on Sunday for the first time that I can ever remember because we were backed up with the bad weather, whatever it might be, and that many dogs. I can't imagine what it took for Luke and them to have to wait 3 weeks. I mean, that's and the judges too, because this is no easy.
This was a very strenuous trial to judge, just because of the number of dogs and the time frame. I mean, ideally you'd like for the trial to go about a week and a half to 2 weeks.
That's right. Yeah.
And that's actually a much better format, but we looked at it this way, and that is we wanted everyone who was qualified to have an opportunity to run, and they did.
They did.
I mean, this is the first time that you'd ever seen a German Shorthair at the national
that's right.
championship.
Yeah,
You know?
And there were two.
And there were two of them.
There were two of them. Well, I think we had 5 English setters.
Well, that was always a big deal when Lori and the rest of them would bring those setters out there, and the big pot got bigger and bigger for years and years for that setter.
Well, we had two female handlers this year, and Bridget Ludington from Idaho. She also had 7 finds.
She did. Yes.
And finished the 3 hours. So, it was a very interesting trial, very competitive, and not only was the field trial part of it good, but we had some social events. I mean, we had a fish fry one night. We had 200 people there. We initiated an owner's handler dinner.
Yes.
That was the first time that we'd done that, and we moved into the Ray building, so that every day after the running there was kind of a little party down there. So,
well, if you have not been to it's always the second Monday in February, if I'm right. Stan.
That's correct.
Put it on your calendar for 127th running next year at Ames Plantation, and I predict there won't be 55 dogs next year, Stan.
44.
Well,
Frank says 41.
44.
44 here. So
we're hopeful that we're in the 40s. We'll just have to look and see what our qualifications are and how things go. But I think in the long run, we want to have the best event ever. And each year we try and, we had a lot of success this year, and we're going to try and make it better next year. Another program that we're initiating is, the national championship was originally run on wild birds.
Yes,
and it was like that up until about the year 2000. And at that point in time, it started with liberated birds. And after the trial is over this year, Tall Timbers is going to come in and start working on the afternoon course, and we're trying to revert it back to a wild bird course.
Oh, man.
And then when it's done, then we'll do the morning course, and in doing those things, hopefully create a different environment than what we've had in the last 20 years, where we've been dependent upon pre-released birds.
That's the word a lot of us.
A real hunting deal.
Yeah, a real hunting thing. Frank, you got anything you want to ask Stan about now that you've been experienced?
No, I know a little bit about the Tall Timber people because they're from the Thomasville, Georgia area. So I know a lot of folks that know about them down there, and they speak real highly of them.
Frank is in retrievers. That's his bailiwick. He's with the Mid-South Hunting Retriever Club and these other things. And but Stan, I've got to ask you now because got 2 minutes here. I appreciate you taking time to do this, but I got to ask you, man. I'm looking at the names of some of your dogs. Honky Tonk, man. It just jumped out at me, and I've got to ask Dr. Stan Wint. I got a good friend. Listen to this now, Stan. I got a good friend at Reelfoot. He has a duck hunting guide service. It's called the Honky Tonk Guide Service. And I said, you need to hook up with Johnny Warren at Reelfoot.
We do. Yeah.
Can you tell me that real quickly? Because I'm big on that.
My first real significant dog was a dog named Honky Tonk Attitude. And so that was about the time that Joe Diffie came out with the song Honky Tonk Attitude.
That's right. I thought it had to be some. Yeah.
My trainer, a gentleman by the name of Scott Miller, and I sometimes would spend too much time out late at night, and so everything just kind of fit together. And so all of the dogs that come out of my kennel, even today, still carry that prefix. And
I do see that Honky Tonk Attitude, his call name was Bull. Thank goodness.
Right.
Okay, that's right. Stan,
that's correct.
Thanks, buddy. I appreciate you taking time.
Sure.
Hope to get to see you next year. Hope I'll be out there next year. Okay, buddy?
You're always invited.
All right, thanks. Have a great weekend. All right, let's take a break on Outdoors with Larry Ray. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to Outdoors with Larry Ray, brought to you by the Tennessee Wildlife Resources Agency, B&M Poles, and Ducks Unlimited.
Hey Hey, good Saturday morning. Welcome back to Outdoors with Larry Ray on this first Saturday, which means Gene Smith is here.
Good morning.
Gene, and I know you're dressed out. You've got your name, so we wouldn't miss who you were over
I'll
there.
make sure what coat I was wearing.
Yeah, well, I'll make sure that. And, of course, Gene has been on this show since we started almost 25 years ago. And our other co-host is Dave Gabbert out of Lexington, Tennessee. And, of course, Dave has been here with me forever. He is my firearms expert. And in the studio, we have the webmaster champion himself, Guy Trebo over there, LarryRay.com, and my dog man. That's what he said, right? Is what you said, Frank?
Just a dog guy.
Just a dog guy.
Just a dog guy.
All right. And Dave, I know you've been to the Pickwick and you've heard of the Boattail. Gene Smith has heard of the Boattail. I've told people about
used to go to the Boattail.
Well, I told people my first time I stayed in the Boattail, and I swear Bill Dance said it was haunted, and he was making noises in the background. Ooh, I knew it wasn't, but I knew I was going to eat good and still sorry. And so recently at the boat show out at the Agri Center, I had a chance to kind of rekindle some Bellis, Bill Bellis and Betty Bellis memories with their son Johnny, as he now has Pickwick Marine Construction. And it's just so good to talk to you, Johnny, and catch up a little bit. But thank you for being on the show, and I hope you don't mind reflecting on some memories with me.
Be glad to, Larry. It's great to run into you at the show last week.
Yeah, and I know the Boattail's gone. There's a campground there and everything. Your roots are still there. And I know when people hear your name, Bellis, you're stuck with it. It's like my name is Ray, and I was stuck with it because of my dad. But everybody thought I was going to sell cars like my dad. But your daddy died in 2014 at the age of 92. Your mom passed away in October of 2015. Talk about growing up in the Boattail before we get into what you're doing now, because you got some cool things you're doing too. But talk about growing up.
Well, that was actually quite an experience. Yeah. I was a year old when we moved here from Texas.
A year old, okay.
A year old, so I don't remember much about the first few years, but Daddy was buying parts, automobile parts, and selling to rebuilders, so he traveled through here, and he liked this area and loved to fish, so he loaded the family up, and we came to Tennessee, and he wanted to build some kind of a restaurant or a resort. And he found this big old boat that a guy had bought from the Corps of Engineers, floated it up here, and it was tied up on the bank down there.
Yeah.
He wound up buying it. The flood came. He floated it up on the bank and set it down. And he didn't even prepare for it. He just set it down on the bank, put a restaurant in the bottom of it, and put rooms upstairs, and turned it into a fisherman's paradise. Now, these days, it wasn't. It didn't even compare to the rooms you stay in now. I remember Daddy would put signs out on the highway, and it said air conditioning and color TV. So that was far enough ago that air conditioning and TV was a big deal, especially color television. Now, that didn't mean you could pick up 10 channels. You could pick up 2, but it was still color television.
Well,
but it was quite an experience. You know, when the water would come out, it would flood that whole area there.
Yeah.
And he'd actually take me and my sister in a boat out to catch the school bus to go to school in the mornings. But, you know, we had a lot of fun times there. It turned out that Bill Dance, when he was in his early years first starting to fish, this was kind of his second home.
And I understand that your dad might have been one of his first guests on his TV show in 1968, folks. I mean, I can remember Dan still talking about that because that was the go-to place, man, whether you want to eat good catfish and breakfasts and all like that and be right on the water. But Bill, Dance, and the Boattail were kind of together. And
they were. They really were. You know, Bill just made it his home because if he came in at 10 o'clock at night, he'd just go up and get him a room. There wasn't anybody there. The front door was unlocked.
That's
he'd go up and get a room. And if he was the first guy up in the morning, he'd go in the kitchen, turn everything on,
he would
start cooking breakfast. And, you know, the other fishermen, when they'd come down, if they didn't recognize him, they'd just go back and tell him what they wanted to order. He'd cook it.
Bill Dance.
And they'd never say anything about who he was. He'd just cook breakfast for them.
And I know, if I'm not mistaken, I can remember talking to your dad, and I think I found a picture I'm gonna get to you of your dad out in a boat by himself, and he had that hat he wore, that same hat. But he also was big into salmon fishing, if I'm not mistaken. He would go to California. He'd go to the West Coast. I mean, that's where your mama was born, and that he just had a love with Alaska. And fishing for salmon, and he would bring it back, right? I mean, he would.
Oh yeah, he and Mother traveled. They went to Washington State sauger fishing. I've still got sauger on my brain, but he'd go out there salmon fishing, and they changed the limit down to so it wasn't but like 4 fish, and they weren't running good there. So he said, "I'm going to Alaska." So he drove to Alaska the next year.
He drove to Alaska the next year.
Every year.
Yeah.
He had a bus, and they'd go up there and 1st of June, and they'd stay till August. And he had that motorhome there, and he actually canned his salmon, and it was kind of a big deal when he came back because he'd bring cases of canned salmon.
I can remember, and of course staying there and knowing your mom and dad, and it was such a gathering place for that, and growing up in that, and I know that you had that opportunity to be involved in that growing up. Of course, it's gone now. I mean, there's a campground there, but you can't take away the memories, but your roots are still there. And tell our listeners a little bit about Pickwick Marine Construction, because you got some cool things going on there too, Johnny.
Well, we kind of ventured off after we sold the Boatel and weren't in the restaurant business anymore. We kind of got interested in the local marine business, and we formed a company here. We built boat lifts and boat docks, and we service all these docks up here. There's thousands of docks on Pickwick Lake, as all fishermen know, which is a great place to fish around these docks. But we provide service up there. We've got 3 workboats on the lake and 3 crews, so they stay busy all year, even in the winter. You just can't get caught up.
Well, I know when I was looking at this, and I had a chance, as I said, to visit with Johnny and your son, Caden. Is that right?
Right.
You and Caden were at the boat show. Appreciate you being there. I keep saying that's going to be my last year. But you got something called a Dock IQ, a smart dock system. And that would throw Bill Dance in a loop if he heard of a smart dock system. He'd think that might be his surgeon. But, I mean, so tell us what that is, Johnny.
Well, especially with older docks up here and the older wiring when there wasn't any codes, a lot of these docks have got wires hanging in the water and everything else. And unfortunately, when there's electrical charge in the water, you can jump in the water and it will paralyze your muscles.
Yeah.
And you can't swim regardless how good a swimmer you are. And, of course, somebody goes in after you, they have the same results.
Yes.
So we fortunately hadn't had the problem here. I understand there's been a good bit of problem at Smith Lake. But with the older docks in the water, it's just a good precaution to have, especially for grandkids and so on. So we sell a lot of those. And the good thing about it is you never know when it saves somebody, because unless it goes off and alerts somebody, you didn't know that it saved somebody's life unless they get in the water. So it's a good product, and I think it's probably saved a lot of lives.
Well, I know, and again, we're talking to Johnny Bellis, the son of the late Bill and Betty Bellis. All of us have great memories of those times at Pickwick. You just wanted to be there. So now your business, give us the location of your business.
We're 2865 Highway 128. We're 1 mile from the dam on Pickwick Road.
Well, Johnny, I appreciate you, buddy. Look forward to seeing you over there, but thank you for taking time. And, man, I got some great memories. I may be an old geezer now, but I still got memories. And
well, Larry, I appreciate you. Inviting me in, and like always, the fish are always biting at Pickwick, and this weekend is a pretty weekend. It's nearly 60 degrees up here, so if you've got an interest in fishing, come on down.
And go by and see Johnny Bellis there, and you can reach him at the Pickwick Marine Construction in Savannah. Thank you, Johnny. Have a great weekend.
Thank you, guys.
Right?
Appreciate you inviting me.
All right, thank you, Johnny.
Bye-bye.
Johnny Bellis. And before we need a pun right now. I mean,
okay.
Give me a pun.
Well, it's getting to be Easter pretty soon. And sometimes when they verbalize a news bulletin in the church bulletin, it doesn't come out to where it should.
Yeah.
So the bulletin said, Vicki Edwards at the end of the service will lay an egg on the altar.
Oh my gosh. Shelby got that. You got that, didn't you, Shelby?
I did.
Did you get that, Guy? You got that? Yeah, the guy got that. We wanted to make sure that we got. Did you get that, Gene?
Yes,
I mean,
sir.
Dave. Did you get that, Dave?
Oh yeah.
Okay. You're our interpreter in case we don't understand what Gene meant.
Yeah,
but,
those egg jokes are not cracked up to what they ought to be.
egg jokes are not cracked up to what they ought to be. All right, you're shaking your head, Frank.
Yoke, yoke.
Watch it. But anyway, boy, I sure wished I'd have been at the Ames Plantation steps on Thursday because I can imagine the crowd and seeing those people come up there and seeing Frank's dog win. You know, you made history.
It's not my dog.
No, but it was your favorite dog. Because you saw it.
I saw it.
You saw it run across the road.
Several times.
Several times.
I'm going to tell you, the dog was running as hard at the 2 hour and 45-minute mark, which was the last time I saw it cross the road going in. He was as running as hard as it was when he left 2 hours and 45 minutes earlier.
And you had a good thing before we get off this, and I love the bird dog thing, but you mentioned about 45 dogs are picked up. Now you'll think, well, why in the world did they come here? But
after a while, when you
see you're not going to.
They see what work is already done, and when you've got 8 and 10, dogs that have completed the course, had fines.
Yeah.
And if it's just not your dog's day, and
Right.
It happens.
And so there's no reason to run for fun.
Yeah.
So why waste the judge's time? Take risk injury on the dog, so they pick them up. Most of the pickups were not because
they hadn't done any bird work.
They just hadn't done enough. They hadn't done enough bird work. It wasn't that it was bad bird work.
Right.
They hadn't done enough bird work to be competitive with the dogs that had already run and competed.
Okay. So. But they can always say they ran in the national.
Well, that's the price of the entry fee.
That's
what the entry fee gets you.
Yes, and we know what the entry fee is. All right, let's take a break. Come right back. It's time to talk a little, wrap up the deer season. You ready, Dave?
Oh, yeah.
I helped wrap up the deer season this year, and I had some of my deer season spoils the other night. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to Outdoors with Larry Ray, brought to you by the Tennessee Wildlife Resources Agency, B&M Poles, and Ducks Unlimited.
Hey, good Saturday morning, and welcome back to Outdoors with Larry Ray. I was about to turn it over. I'm going to let him do next segment, Frank. Get ready, because it's got an Arkansas angle in there. But anyway, all right, we're going to talk a little deer hunting. You'll say, well, man, now it's March, 1st of March. Well, we got the figures in now. We got some deer rallies coming up, and everybody's going to say, what is a deer rally? That's always when I used to explain to people, what's a fishing rodeo? I mean, do we give somebody, are they riding a horse in the fishing rodeo and things like that? And I said, well, Dave Gabbard, explain what a fishing rodeo is. What is it, Dave?
Fishing rodeo is just a good time for kids to come and experience fishing.
And what is a deer rally, Jeremy Dennison?
Well, that's where if you've killed a deer that you would like to see how much the official score of the antlers would be, you would bring it in, and we usually have a big day and measure a bunch of antlers.
All right, that's Jeremy Dennison. He is the TWRA CWD coordinator. And Jeremy, I have to admit, the first time I went to a deer rally, I took my big buck from Ames Plantation. I called it the 11-15 buck because that's when I killed it. I didn't think Alan Houston was ever going to come get me. And I took it up there, and I think I went to Somerville, at J.B. Brown's.
Right.
There, right, Gene?
Yeah, the RV place.
Yeah, and I went in there, and they put my deer between a 190 and a 180, and they put my 125 deer in the middle of them.
Yeah, it really looked good.
Oh, look real good, like where'd this guy get out of school, but it's a fun time, so folks, we'll talk a little bit about that, but Jeremy, I know I've seen it on Facebook. We've wrapped up the totals and things along that line. So, give us a total? What was the final total?
Yeah, the statewide harvest was pretty high this year, a little higher, 167,980. So almost 168,000 deer harvested this year.
So what do you? That's up, isn't it, from last year? Is that up?
It is. It's up about 15,000 from last year, and it's also up. We look at things on a 4 or 5 year average type trend, and it's up even compared to the 4-year average. That's actually a little higher than what we had during the 2020 deer season when when there was a lot more people out because of COVID and all that. So
well, the season
all pretty successful.
The season was shorter too, technically.
Yeah, that's correct. That's correct.
Which kind of blows everybody's mind because we hunted till the end of January in 23-24 with all the CWD throw open the door and everything. So what do you guys base this on, Jeremy? What do you look at and say, well, what happened?
Well, I don't know. It's just good conditions. It seems like the weather was favorable. A lot of the good weekends as far as the timing of the season and the timing of the rut. And what we can still tell is, for most successful hunters, they're still harvesting a little less than 2 deer on average.
That's
1.8 deer per successful hunter. So I guess that tells us that there's a few more successful hunters out there this year. So that's good to see. The sex breakdown.
Yeah, what was the doe to buck ratio there? What was that?
So out of that statewide harvest, 59% of those were bucks and 41% were does.
What does that hit you with when you think of that?
Well, I'm kind of surprised with as liberal bag limits that we have, especially in this part of the state where you can kill 3 does a day.
3 does a day for that's a lot of does.
Majority of the season, and I mean that tells me that there's less people shooting does. So that's a little concerning when you look at the management of the deer population.
Yeah.
But all in all, it's all about hunters' preference and what they like to go after. So a lot of times that's bucks. So maybe they'll bring some of those to the deer rally. And
I see we didn't have a lot of changes in those counties that usually have high numbers. I was looking at the top 10. I think we only had one county in the top 10 from West Tennessee.
We've got two West Tennessee counties made the top 10. Henry County was all the way up number 4.
Yes, it was.
And Carroll County came in at number 9.
Okay, we got 2 in there, but we didn't have Fayette, we didn't have Hardeman, and we didn't have Chester, where Dave Gabbert lives.
Right.
So I don't know.
Fayette and Hardeman, the harvest there is still lagging, and that's kind of to be expected with the effect of CWD and kind of still the unknowns about what that really is going to mean for the deer population there. So,
what was the CWD situation this year? I mean, look at that. I know we did away with the CWD seasons, so to speak. How are we doing on that, Jeremy?
Right. Yeah, we tried to normalize things as far as regulations. So yeah, it's kind of back to business as usual as far as the season structure. We still tested a whole lot of deer. We provide that service for hunters. We made most of our quotas for every county in the state. We still got a few outstanding, but we'll finish those here pretty quickly.
Good.
But we tested almost 15,000 deer in the state, which is a little less than we did over the past few years, but we still had we had exactly 750 positives. So all in all,
okay.
Yeah, all in all, that's not a lot when you think of that entire 15,000. But those 2 counties that you just mentioned, Fayette and Hardeman, that's where the majority of those positives come from. So Fayette is running at about 28% prevalence, and Hardeman at about 21. So all in all, that's not great news for populations there in those 2 counties.
And a lot of people still think, well, I ain't going to hunt. I'm not going to hunt because that's a chance. I don't want to die. I don't want to eat something that makes me sick. And it's a propaganda thing. We're trying to let the public know that you guys are on top of it. And Dave, being a former wildlife officer, Dave Gabbert, pitch in on this yourself because we still want people out in the woods, don't we, Dave? I mean.
Oh yeah, and sometimes the people kind of perceive more, the bad side of it than what it really is. They kind of what's the old saying? They too many of them shoot from the hip, talking about stuff.
Yeah.
And
you
so
you hear that, don't you, Jeremy? Because you're out in the public, and
sure.
I'll know you'll hear it when we have these deer rallies coming up, and let's because that'll be a lot of talk. Let's talk about we got 2 of them on March the 15th. Is that right?
Yes, sir. There's one that's hosted by Chickasaw State Park. The staff there, they've got some folks that score, and they also will have some TWRA county officers there assisting.
All right.
That one starts at 1 p.m. at Chickasaw State Park.
Okay.
The second one is March 15th also, and that's at Hey Dad's department store in Mumford. And that one's from 10 to 2. We'll be there all morning setting up and hope to see a bunch of people. Hopefully the weather's nice, and they have a huge sale that day. So,
if you want to get bargains, David Haydad and all those folks, me and Gene, we
Yes,
plan
sir.
to be there, don't we, Gene?
He has some good bargains there.
Yeah, great bargains, for all those big guys and little guys like me, but at the same time, you have a chance to get your deer scored. Now, I killed my nice 8-point this year in Hardeman County, and thanks to Sammy Lee, thank you, Sammy, and hope to be out there turkey hunting. But anyway, I'm not going to bring my deer. I've got a European mount out of it, Vic Thayer. It looks great, but I'm not going to stick it between the big ones out there because.
You never know, Mr. Larry, that we don't judge. We don't judge people by what score we come up with.
Somebody used to. I can tell you that, and I'm not going to mention names. But they would set me up. But this is a chance, really, folks. This is an event, right? I mean, it doesn't cost anything. Come on out. Bring your deer. Now, does these deer have to be just from Tennessee, or can you bring in deer? What's the policy on that? I can't.
Well, we're primarily scoring them for the Tennessee Deer Registry.
There you go. Yeah.
And so they do have to be legally for that. They have to be legally killed in Tennessee.
There you go. Okay.
But we also have some Boone and Crockett, Pope and Young certified scorers. Woo. That if you have a deer that you think would make one of those books, bring that too. We can score that right there on site and get you set up.
It could be a deer from 10 years ago, right? I mean,
sure, yeah.
Or found.
As long as it's been dried for 60 days and 60 not days. Previously scored, we can get it scored.
So you'll have officers, TWRA officers at both Chickasaw and Munford, I guess. Then
yes, sir. There'll be several there at Chickasaw. Yes.
Well, now I've got to ask you one before we let you go. Now we're already set up. If I'm not mistaken, and maybe Gabbert will know this, we're already set up for next year. I mean, we have, 2 years? Are we on the same schedule for hunting for next year that we had this year?
Yes, we run on 2-year cycles as far as season setting. Usually there's not a lot of change in between those 2 cycles. There could be minor things, but shouldn't be anything major as far as
And I'm looking for the velvet hunt and those things like that, but when you got 167,980, and just think it would have been 979 if I hadn't killed my dog.
That's right.
I'm
all about perspective.
And I'm doing that. There's no doubt about it. Jeremy, thank you, buddy, for being with us and wrapping this baby up, folks. Go to tnwildlife.org. Get all the information you want. You can see all the kills for each county. It's just a wealth of knowledge. And Jeremy, always great. Thank you, buddy. Look forward to talking to you down the road again. All right, have a great weekend. All right?
Good talking to you. Y'all have a good one.
Thank you, Jeremy. Jeremy Dennison, folks, TWRA CWE coordinator. We're going to take a break before we go. Gene, I need another pun.
Okay. There's a young lady, her mom was telling her how to do her prayers at night.
Yeah.
And she kept saying, bless mama, bless daddy, bless the dog, bless the cat. And she always in it, and bless all my girls. She said, what do you mean, bless all your girls? He said, well, you adults always say all men.
All men. Okay. All right, we'll be right back, I think, on Outdoors with Larry.
Welcome back to Outdoors with Larry Ray, brought to you by the Tennessee Wildlife Resources Agency, B&M Poles, and Ducks Unlimited.
Good Saturday morning, everyone. Once again, it is the award-winning Outdoors with Larry Ray show, the fastest 90 minutes in outdoor broadcasting, coming to you live from Memphis, Tennessee.
Yes.
All things you want to find out about the outdoors, you will hear about it on Outdoors with Larry Ray. Bird watching, hunting, fishing. The national champion at the 2025 Ames Plantation, we just announced earlier.
Yes.
And so now, without further ado, the oracle of the outdoors.
There's the word.
The one and only Larry Ray.
Hey, listen to that, the oracle. Is that O-R-A? I can't spell that, but appreciate it.
Oreo.
Yeah, and when we got Dave Gabbert, we got Gene Smith, co-host, in here. They are always on first Saturday on Outdoors with Larry Ray as we roll into our 25th year on the air. And of course, we have my webmaster over there. Go to LarryRay.com. A guy Treble does a
fantastic
great job. Fantastic. And then, of course, Frank, we brought him in today because we wanted to announce that bird dog champion, and Frank was out there. But
he's gloating.
We've got a young man on the line right now, and of course, I always connect with my good friend Randy Zellers. He's the Assistant Communications Director for the Arkansas Game and Fish. And, of course, Randy had roots here in the Mid-South, and I saw that this young man was named, get this, folks, the National Wild Turkey Federation's National Wildlife Officer of the Year at the recent NWTF convention in Nashville, where they broke all the attendance records and everything. And you want to guess? How long do you think this guy's been a wildlife officer?
12 years.
12 years. 15 years? How about it?
I know.
Frank knows.
I cheated.
How about 2 years? Brady Smith, I tell you what, buddy, that's like pitching a no-hitter in your first game. How do you recover from this, Brady?
I try to do it again, I guess. I'll do my best to find my way back to Nashville.
Well, talk about it, Brady, the experience itself. I'm assuming that you knew when you was going over you had won this award. How did you find out you'd won the award? Who told you?
I did not know until we were called up. I was called up on the stage.
Are you serious? You had no idea. Yeah.
No, I was there with my captain, Wade Spence, and my Colonel Brad Young.
Yeah.
And so during the award ceremony, they give you a booklet.
Yeah.
When you walk in, you got a list of all the awards and all the names of the people that's won the awards except for the Wildlife Officer of the Year. And that was the only surprise in that booklet. And so I didn't know until they called me up there that I'd won it.
So what's going through your mind at the age of 25 to win this big award? What's going as you're walking up there? I mean, talk about the experience on that stage, because I know this is this is a wonderful event every year in Nashville, Valentine's weekend. I guess you're probably thinking about the people that helped you win this award, right, Brady? I mean,
oh, absolutely. I had a lot of help from the guys in my district. I've got some great partners that I work with here in the county that we worked several cases together, and I worked with several other officers throughout the district on some cases, and I've had all kinds of support.
What's it been like since then? I guess you got people that you didn't even know you were cousins with. I mean, there's probably all of a sudden you got new relatives that.
I've definitely heard from a lot of people I ain't spoke to in a while, but it's good talking to everybody.
Well, I know turkey hunting is important to you. Talk about that, because I read the press release that Randy or Keith Stevens, somebody did, that you started turkey hunting when you were 6 years old.
Yes, sir. I still remember going the first day. My dad, he didn't turkey hunt much, but he had some buddies that did, and they all took me on the youth hunt. And I think there was 3 or 4 guys that ended up going with me, and I got to borrow a little single shot 410.
Yeah.
I still remember it to this day, going and hunting.
And you wanted to be a wildlife officer. You wanted to be a game warden, right? At a young age.
Yes, sir. Growing up, people always ask you what you want to be, and I can't remember saying I ever wanted to be anything else. So
really, yeah.
To be able to be a game warden in itself is awesome. And then to win that award was pretty surreal.
Yeah, I know, Dave Gabbert, you're listening to this. You were a wildlife officer for the Tennessee Wildlife Resources Agency for more than 3 decades, Dave. When you hear this young man at this age want to be a wildlife officer, we need more of these kids, don't we, Dave? I mean,
and he said something that that every officer that I've ever met,
yeah,
and that's what they said. They've always wanted to be an officer. The ones that end up going to work for a game and fish agency and stuff like that, they just not sure what they want to do. They don't last long.
They don't. That's right. But Brady, that this looks like you're in the career that you love. So talk about, where'd you go to high school?
I went to Cave City High School.
All right. How many's in your graduating class?
I believe there was about 100 and just over 100 in my graduating class.
Anybody else want to be a wildlife officer?
Not that I
not that you
graduated as a game warden.
Yeah, but that's what you wanted to be, and to do this, and growing up, I guess, is Cave City? I know is that close to Batesville? Where's that Cave City?
It's about 15 minutes north of Batesville.
That's what I thought. Yeah, because like I say, I grew up in central Arkansas in that area there, and my wife did too. But so to get nominated, so you knew you were nominated for this award, I'm assuming, right?
Yes, sir. I knew I was nominated for the award. I won whenever they announced that I'd won the state.
Yeah. But you knew that, and talk about your job as a game warden, because I understand you're pretty prolific at this. I mean, 180 officer violator contacts, 20 turkey hunting violation cases, hunting over bait, hunting out of season, hunting without permission. But you're not just a turkey game warden. I mean,
right.
You have to be the other part. So talk about the role of the game warden. A lot of people, it's a misconception of what you guys do, because when you show up, they think, oh, we're in trouble now. But that's not really the case, right, Brady?
No, sir. No, sir. We do a lot more than just enforce regulations and laws, which any game warden will tell you. We'd never know what we're going to be getting into in a day-to-day basis.
No.
So we may go from helping a sheriff's office to checking a fishing license or anything like that. But we do a lot of education as well. We do hunter's ed and boater safety classes.
Yes.
Here in Heber Springs and Greer's Ferry, we do a survival class, like a basic survival class for elementary schools around here, and get to meet a bunch of the kids that way. And we do a lot of different things. We got a fishing derby, a youth fishing derby that we do.
Yeah. Well, I got a lot of friends in Heber Springs. It's one of I guess Memphis people just vibrate and head off to Heber Springs to do that. But you guys are involved with the community, whether it's a local bass club or whatever it might be, on that part. So how do you separate your job come turkey season, man? Everybody thinks the game warden just hunts all the time. Not right, Dave. Gabbert, right?
We do get to hunt. That's what a lot of people don't want to be a game warden, because they think we never get to hunt. But it's just, you work in the mornings. If you want to go hunt that evening, you can work earlier in the morning, or vice versa. If you want to hunt, you'll make time for it. The way I see it, but.
Well, I think a lot of this, and I'm looking at some of the stuff, it kind of jumped out at me, Brady, in the press release from the Arkansas Game and Fish Commission. Shop with a Cop. What is that?
Shop with the Cop is something that we do during Christmas time. It's all the different local agencies that do it too. There's sheriff's department guys, police guys, state police, and what we'll do is we'll have a bunch of the kids come that are kind of less fortunate, and we'll take them, we'll feed them that evening, and then we'll take them to Walmart and
take them to Walmart. There you go. That's the highlight when it comes into it. Again, we're talking to Brady Smith. He is the National Wild Turkey Federation's National Wildlife Officer of the Year. And I was looking from a quote there that I saw from Kurt Dyroff. He is the NWTF co-CEO about you. And I was really impressed with Brady's love for the outdoors is evident in his diligent work catching poachers and those who do not follow the rules that ensure the sustainability of our natural resources. And you're a first responder, Brady. I mean, what do you look on yourself as? I mean, as you try to project the positive image of what we call the game wardens today. Huh?
I'm sorry, you cut up there.
I'm sorry. What do you look as your role as a game warden? You got a couple of minutes. I just want to hear what you think your job encompasses as a game warden.
So our main goal as a game warden is to educate people and to get them into the outdoors. So
there you go. Yeah.
The way I see it, if we can, do the things like Shop with a Cop and these classes at the elementary schools, and they can see us in that perspective of teaching them and having a good time, that'll get them outdoors, and we can have a good influence on them that way instead of just catching them down the road poaching.
Yeah, that's right. You want to make sure. How many game wardens do you have in Claiborne County?
There's 3 of us. I have 2 partners here.
Okay. Well, Brady, we appreciate you being with us on Outdoors with Larry Ray. Again, congratulations. We've got your name now, so if I ever run into anybody over at Heber Springs, I get in trouble, I say, I'm going to talk to Brady Smith, and they'll run off probably then after that. But thank you, Brady. Have a great weekend, buddy, and we'll make sure you get a copy of this too, all right?
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Brady. All right, let's take a break on Outdoors with Larry Ray. Close this baby out. We're going to Reelfoot Lake. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to Outdoors with Larry Ray, brought to you by the Tennessee Wildlife Resources Agency, B&M Poles, and Ducks Unlimited.
Hey, good Saturday morning. Welcome back to Outdoors with Larry Ray as we wrap up this week's show, which is first Saturday, as we roll into our 25th year on the air. I think this guy's been on the radio show before. I don't think he's a rookie. I think he's been on this show before, sometimes in Indianapolis and other places, I have to track him down. Sometimes he might leave me on a stump in the middle of Reelfoot Lake. Sometimes he may ridicule me, saying on the stage at the Legends of the Outdoors that my wife is a better fisherman than me.
Well,
he's right.
The truth is the truth. You can't help it.
Now I'm getting ridiculed in the studio here. Did I ask you to Frank? It's bad enough to talk to Billy Blakley, but
I'm done.
Would you get Christy on the line for me? I'd rather talk to her. Okay, so Billy Blakley is on with us now. I wanted to get a kind of what the conditions are at Reelfoot. We've had a lot of high water. We've had flooding in Dyersburg and Rives and other places up there. A lot of rain, cold weather, and things along that line. And I talked to my good friend Ronnie Capps recently, and I talked to David Hager, and he got water in his house up there and things along that line.
Yes, sir.
And Billy, of course, is the chief guide at our great place that we go to, Blue Bank Resort on Reelfoot Lake with the Hayes family. But, Billy, talk about this because you got a lot of water.
Man, we have got a lot of water.
Well, talk about it. What's it going to?
The pool level of the lake is about 2.5 foot above pool level right now.
Now, compared, how does that compare? You've grown up on that lake. We're on the day being March the 1st, Saturday, March the 1st. Is this it's unusual, right? I mean,
yes, sir. I've only seen it this high or a little higher back in 2010, I think it was. And man, when it got that high that year, we had the best fishing year we ever had.
Well, that's what Caps kind of told us a little bit off the record that this should make fishing great, right, Billy? I mean,
sir.
Why? Why is it making fishing?
Well, they let them spread out. They get to get in places and have a spawn with nobody messing with them, and it'll be better for the years coming as it will this year.
And we're looking at that much high water. And that's coming into some camp. Is that coming into some campgrounds, Billy? Are we?
Yes, sir. The state campground is actually a little bit, about 3 inches underwater right now.
What about Blue Bank? How y'all doing, water-wise?
Man, our last dock is underwater. Other than that, everything else is pretty good.
Everything else, so you guys can depart and get in and out.
Oh, yeah.
Without any problem like that. And, of course, unless you know this lake, folks, we know this lake is famous for stumps. And
Yes, sir.
Billy knows most of them.
I've hit every one of them.
Yeah, and I think now that the high water's come, we might find Wesley Snipes from U.S. Marshals. He may still be back in there. I don't know. And when it comes to Reelfoot Lake, and
there's a good chance of it.
There's a good chance. But so what about the fishing wise? And what would you say? Crappie? We're going to have a good crappie spring, you think? Is that?
Yes, sir. It's already looking good. We've been catching fish all week. Every day we get, with no wind, we're catching plenty of fish. It's a big fish.
Really? I mean,
yes, sir.
And this is March 1st, and I would say we're not in a spawn yet. So what?
No, sir. They just moving up and getting ready. The water's warming up. Started out first week when I got back from Indianapolis at 42 degrees. Now it's up to about 51, 52.
Yeah.
But they getting ready to start biting real good.
Now, did we get a lot of ice last week when all the cold weather? Did we have ice?
Yes, sir, we did. We got a little bit of ice, about a half inch.
So what effect did that have? Other than it was dangerous to be out there, and that's what I'm asking, folks. You need to know a lake. The temperature may be 75, but like Billy just said, water temperature mountain is maybe 51. So
yes, sir.
You got to be safe on that lake and know where everything is. But you can get out of the wind. It's just that you got to go back sometime.
Yes, sir.
And when it gets to that, so what are you using right now?
Right now I'm catching them on jigs and minnows.
Jigs and minnows. How have you got them baited
sir.
like that? How we doing that?
I'm using a chartreuse jig and just tipping it with a minnow with a pink head on it.
And how deep?
Well, they're actually still deep, about 14 foot of water. The fish are about 10 foot.
That's what I was asking. 14 feet of water, and you're catching them at 10 feet.
Yes, sir.
And normally that would be 13 feet of water at 8 feet or something.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And it's amazing what that does. What does it make the lake? You got to respect Reelfoot, Billy. You know that.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
What's the respect you have for that lake?
Man, I've seen it in the worst conditions of the worst. I mean, even though most people treat it like a pond, it's big enough and it gets rough enough. A small boat, it'll push under. I've seen that wind come up and just kick that lake up with white caps and see some boats flip them over and everything else.
Well, that's why you need to check out with folks like Billy and the rest of his crew there at that you need to have somebody. I always suggest when you go to Blue Bank, not only check out what's good to eat, because I know they're going to do that, but at the same time is a chance to fish. So how do they get in touch with you guys, Billy? Tell me before we let you get going.
They can just call us there at the office, 877 Blue Bank.
That's what it is, both 877 Blue Bank. You can go to LarryRay.com. We got all that information. You go to Blue Bank Resort, the Hayes family and that thing. Billy, thank you, buddy. Be careful.
Hey, thank y'all again.
I'll bring my good fisherman up there with me pretty soon, okay? All right.
She's welcome in my boat anytime.
Now, why did you say she? How did you know what I was talking about?
Well, I knew who you were talking about.
Time to go, Billy. Bye. All right.
Bye.
All right. Billy Blakley. I wanted to get into that because, as we close out this show, we start March. Thank you, Guy. Wheel us in here right now. What's going on the website? Tell us what's going on. Got all the information up there?
Yeah, everything's in.
It is, isn't it? We got fishing reports. We got photos.
We got links to all the fishing reports, like Steve McAdams and what's our man, Claggett Talley.
Yeah, we do. We got all those.
Over there in Arkansas with your buddies, the Berry brothers.
We do. We got all those.
We got links to all the organizations like TWRA and Arkansas.
All the previous shows.
And MDWFB.
Yeah, we got the previous shows. So
a lot of good stories on there.
A lot of good stories on there. A lot of some that I might have written. I don't know, but no, I doubt it. I doubt it. And
good stuff.
And Frank, what you got going on now?
We're dog training. We're hit it hard when this last snow melted.
Yeah,
we've been back hard at it and start running First event is next weekend.
Next weekend
down in Demopolis, Alabama.
Really? Okay.
And then start running about every other weekend, and sometimes a couple of weekends back to back.
I'm sure.
And trying to schedule all that around the Grizzlies and the upcoming playoff run.
Yes. Yeah, and I know that Frank is now, since he's an expert at picking national championship bird dogs, he will now have his own podcast probably that we can accept that.
Someone's already asked me about when I'm going to ride next. You know, they want to know.
I want to
They want to know when I'm going out next year because they want to.
They want to be.
They figure I'm lucky or something. I don't know.
And again, that winning dog was who?
Aaron's Perfect Storm.
Aaron's Perfect Storm. Great job. Thank you out there for the championship. Go to AmesPlantation.org. You can find out the information about that. And Dave Gabbert, I'm still waiting on my new Mossberg shotgun to come in from Linda Powell. And when I get it, I'll head to you and try to get the ammo ready.
What's the news of the tamer?
The tamer's going off. I just hadn't done it yet. It's the tamer's gone off my rifle, y'all. That's what we're talking about. And I got to get it over to Keith Warren and get that tamer off. But I'm not going to shoot that anymore. But
kind of loud, isn't it?
It is loud. It's loud to the people in there with me. Yeah, people have said that they don't want me. So I'm going to get it off because this. He says it won't be that much kick on it.
Yeah, it's all right. I've been duck hunting plenty of times when I see somebody coming in the blind and when it gets light, I look at their gun and it's ported.
Oh,
I try and move away from them.
Yeah. Well, if you're in a deer stand with them, Dave will know that. And Gene, buddy, we're going to be at March the 15th. Hey, Dads. I think
Correct.
It's 10 to 2 or something like that.
Right.
Let's be up there, me and Gene. I may want to come by and pick you up, maybe, Gene. You're going to ride up there with me?
That'd be good.
We'll work that out. And then, of course, Tuesday at Cherry Road Baptist Church, 1421 Cherry Road, we'll have the funeral for the late Rodney Ward. Visitation at 10, the funeral at 11. And, of course, tonight at Piperton Baptist Church,
Correct.
Gene and myself will be there. I got a table set up for me tonight. And the folks at Mojo, boy, they have sent some prizes I'm going to have out there tonight. B&M poles, I got that. I got a BB gun from Daisy that we're going to give away tonight, Rusty Baggett, and all the good folks out at Piperton Baptist Church. Doors open at 5, and the program starts at 6. Tommy Vinson, Brother Tommy Vinson will be in the message, and you can guarantee it'll be a great message. All right, Gene, we got just a couple of minutes. I want to do a closing
a good one.
A good one, Gene.
Well,
a good one.
My favorite one is when I was at the bank, you probably heard this, and this little old lady wanted me to help her check her balance, so I shoved her.
Oh, me. So next week we're going to have Tandy Darby talking about Representative Tandy Darby talking about his family's hunting preserve up near Greenfield. We're also going to have commissioners. Just went off commissioners. Hank Wright of Germantown, Bill Cox of Collierville. And anything else from you, Dave Gabbert?
No, just this is the time of year. Just sit back and start planning your wildlife plots.
There you go, folks. It is spoken by the man himself. So this is Larry Ray reminding you to do each and every week. It doesn't cost an extra cent to be a good sport. And what else, guys?
God bless
the USA.
USA.